It's Monday, and you know what that means. Jersey First TV proudly brings to you the latest edition of Real Talk. And yes, I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, top 50 Latino, as voted on by the Latino Spirit online magazine, as well as the United States Latino Affairs Initiative in 2023. Without a doubt, ladies and gentlemen, the weapon of mass disruption in Garden State media. Certainly you can tell by the traffic, the people's choice and the people's voice, and without a doubt, the most handsome face that runs the place. Yes, it's me, Fernando Uribe. Happy Monday, everyone. Happy Columbus Day. Hope you all got to enjoy the day off and enjoy certainly relaxing. I know I did. Got to sleep in a little bit and enjoy this Columbus Day. And I hope you're all able to do so as well. And once again, I want to thank you all for tuning in from wherever and however you may be doing so here this evening, the 9th of October in 2023. Folks, yes, I'm rocking that pink throughout the month of October, and so is Jersey First TV, as we are supporting Breast Cancer Awareness Month. A little bit more about that later on my big event coming up on Thursday night, October the 26th, at the world-famous Lolita's on River Road in North Bergen. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But again, ladies and gentlemen, throughout the month of October, we'll be rocking that pink and supporting Breast Cancer Awareness Month on behalf of the American Cancer Society. Of course, always remember, ladies and gentlemen, to check out all of our social media. Once again, make sure you like Real Talk with Fernando Uribe and Jersey First on Facebook. Of course, follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And don't forget, for all you YouTube subscribers, click that subscribe button. It takes 2 seconds, and you'll be receiving all the notifications about all the outstanding content brought to you by Jersey First TV. And of course, wherever you get your podcast, whether it be Spotify or SoundCloud. Hey, maybe you're visiting that annoying mother-in-law. Maybe you're going to the gym. Maybe you're walking your dog. Listen, I'm pretty sure you're on your smartphone or on your tablet or your iPad or your Mac or your notebook. And guess what? When you are, check out Jersey First TV. Amazing content all the time, brought to you by the dream team of Garden State Media, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, you know, it is always Jersey First TV, and I cannot say enough about how proud I am to be on the dream team of Garden State Media. Ladies and gentlemen, brand new episodes of The Nader Narrative, hosted by the incredible Elizabeth Nader, premiere every Thursday. And of course, brand new episodes of Bridging the Gap with AJ Malillo and Stephen Rumbolo, also premiere on Thursdays. And, you know, Monday nights, you know, you can always tune in here for Real Talk with Fernando Uribe. Folks, amazing content. We appreciate you subscribing all the time to Jersey First. And again, giving us the great traffic that we continue to get every single week. Folks, again, as a reminder, there's a lot to talk about tonight. I certainly don't want to keep you in suspense here. Certainly, we have a double main event tonight. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you definitely don't want to miss that. But we'll have a lot to talk about later in the program. Once again, amazing traffic for the month of September. Everything's organic. Nothing's boosted, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, it's as organic as the produce section at your local Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, or your local bodega. Again, without all of you, ladies and gentlemen, this number, 21,000 plus views and counting, would not be possible. And I'm not the most humble guy around, I think, as you all know, but I'm deeply humbled by your support. More on these amazing numbers a little bit later. And also, ladies and gentlemen, I will share with you some great news. Obviously, over the weekend, going to the grand opening of the Latino Spirit office in Patterson, New Jersey, getting my top 50 Latino recognition. More on that later, and I think you'll definitely want to tune in for that. Folks, I can't say enough again. Nice to have one more award in the house for sure. We'll talk about that and much more, folks. And I'll also have final thoughts. I'll share some opinions on Ali Steinberg, Sleepy Al from Insider NJ. He never ceases to amaze me, folks. And trust me, you definitely want to hear what I have to say about Sleepy Al later in the program. But folks, it's a double main event tonight. We have amazing guests here on the show. And, again, I cannot say enough about the content on this show. And again, it's an election year, stuff going on in New Jersey politics. There's always a lot to talk about. And folks, one of the mayors that I love to talk to, folks, he is a distinguished mayor of the City of Belleville there in Essex County. He's my good friend and yours, folks. The Honorable Mayor Michael Melham joins us here on Real Talk. Mr. Mayor, how are you?
I'm doing well, Fernando. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it, Mr. Mayor. And folks, again, if you're not familiar with the township of Belleville, it is located in Essex County here in New Jersey. And one distinction, I guess, that's really interesting, maybe our viewers don't know, is that the Township of Belleville has given itself the nickname of the cherry blossom capital of these United States, with their annual display that's actually larger than some of the famed ones that you see in Washington, D.C. So, Mr. Mayor, some serious recognition in the Township of Belleville.
Yeah, it really is. We've had that nickname now for probably decades. I remember as a young councilman 20 years ago, we had actually replenished and planted another 2,000 cherry blossom trees. And I was very fond of always telling our Congress people there are more cherry blossoms in Belleville, New Jersey than Washington, D.C.
Yeah, why travel all the way down Route 95 and deal with that traffic? Just go to Belleville. That's the best thing to tell people once again. But Mr. Mayor, again, it's great to have you on here. And certainly, again, congratulations. You won re-election last year. And I think you're a guy that's just up and coming in New Jersey politics. I know you may not say that openly. I will, based on your name recognition. But let's get into, again, your next term here. And certainly you have done a lot of great things in the Township of Belleville. What are you looking to focus in on as obviously the second term continues for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think we said it all during the campaign. We're looking for pretty much the same. I mean, exactly what got Belleville where it's gotten the last 5 years or so, and exactly what's got the Melham team, myself and my two council running mates, reelected by record margins. We're going to double down. We're going to stay the course, exactly the same. We're doing really wise development here in Belleville. Belleville had been stagnant for 15, 20 years or so. We missed the housing boom of a decade ago. All the other surrounding towns really did capitalize on some of the development. We're not overdeveloping. We're not gentrifying. We're doing some really wise development to bring some new ratables in, much needed ratables. And those ratables are paying off. A $48 tax increase this year. Meanwhile, we spent maybe $8-9 million to redo baseball fields and all kinds of new programs and initiatives. And we're doing it all with less. It's all working, and we're going to stay the course here in Belleville.
And not to mention as well that the Township of Belleville got to enjoy some filming done for the upcoming Warner Brothers movie Joker 2, starring Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga. So I think that created quite a stir also, right?
That really did. And that building is host to one of our newer developments. It didn't look that way during filming, and it's probably not going to look that way in the motion picture. But I was on set. I was on scene. I got a private viewing. It was really an amazing experience. And Belleville's no stranger to broadcasting, and certainly no stranger to motion pictures. We had The Sopranos here for many years. Sopranos called
Right.
Belleville home. A lot of different motion pictures and HBO shows have always filmed here in Belleville.
And it's funny because when we, as a big comic book fan, a big DC fan growing up, I mean, we think about Arkham Asylum is one of the more iconic structures in the Batman universe, and to think that building was there in Belleville, I mean, it's extraordinary. It really, really is, and I'm looking forward to seeing certainly like that vision once the film comes out. I believe sometime next summer. Mr. Mayor, it's interesting because Belleville is a town, and to your point about missing the housing boom from a decade ago. But I would make the case that, even after the pandemic, I think what we started seeing, and I live up here in Hudson County. I mean, I could walk a couple blocks. I look at Manhattan every day, and obviously my property taxes reflect that. But having said that, I think after the pandemic, people were looking at townships like yours in Essex County as a popular and attractive destination to get away from the Lincoln Tunnel, from the congestion, from, West New York, Union City, Weehawken, Hoboken collectively. And I think Belleville became one of the better attractive spots. Is that fair to say?
Oh, it's absolutely fair to say. And it was by design. I mean, we really took a look at our planning. We really took a look at some of the projects that were in the queue. Smart development. When I say smart development, a lot of studios, a lot of one bedrooms. We are attracting young professionals with disposable income here in Belleville. We're not having somebody with 2 or 3 cars. We're not building the 3-bedroom apartments. We're attracting young professionals. And you know what? Once they're here, if they decide they want to start a family, we also have that housing stock available to them. We are uniquely situated. I tell people all the time, we are right next door to the largest city in New Jersey. And from our hilltops, we can see one of the largest cities in the world, New York City. And if you want to come here as a young professional with that disposable income, well, we'll take it. If you want to start a family here, we also have that suburban look and feel. I tell people all the time, compared to Hudson County, we have houses with grass in our front yard. We have houses with grass in our backyards.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. And I'll tell you, I have a small little garden and a small backyard, but yeah, certainly you make the case in Belleville. There are a lot of properties that have become attractive. Having said that, Mr. Mayor, one of the biggest complaints I hear all the time from people who tune into the show and talk to me about, hey, listen, when are you going to have, you always have like state candidates on or legislators on. We're gonna have more mayors on, and I'm like,
Sure.
oh, I'm working on it. Chill, I'm working on it. And what's interesting to me is always a discussion, though, Mr. Mayor, about property taxes, and that again here in New Jersey. And again, I hate to remind people, I hate to be the buzzkill, but New Jersey leads the country with an average of $9,290. I mean, I can drive a few minutes north of me along River Road into Bergen County. I'll run into towns like Alpine, Cresskill, Closter. We talk about $13,000-$14,000. I can drive south of me, hit Route 22, and go near Summit, New Jersey. And we're talking about like 24, 25. What's Belleville looking like these days?
Belleville's looking pretty good. We had last tax increase, as I said, was $48. We're doing more with less here in Belleville, but you're right. We are in the New York metro area. I tell people, we are in a D state. We have a lot of unions, and those unions all expect a 2 to 3% raise every single year. You got 450 municipal employees that all have union contracts, and we're contractually obligated, sometimes from the prior administration, to make sure that we provide for those employees what they deserve and what they've negotiated for in good faith. But then again, people are also living a lot longer. So if you have 350 employees at any given time that retire in their 50s and they're living to their 80s and to their 90s, we are funding health benefits, and those health benefits go up every single year. We kill ourselves on the municipal side. Our budget committee is fantastic. We cut positions, we don't replace. We do all kinds of things. And then you know what? Our CFO calls up and said, our health insurance just went up $1.5 million. This unfunded mandate is going to cost us $750,000. Our municipal court during COVID was down $600,000. Those people, it's not private sector. You don't lay people off. So now you got to eat that $600,000. And then you got things like the Murphy administration and the AG's office and mandates coming down from the top saying, you know what, we're not going to prosecute petty criminals. If you have parking tickets, you know what, municipal courts throw them all out. That stuff really hurts the average taxpayer for sure.
No, it certainly does. And let me ask you this, because I think when people think about municipal government, people think about, well, it's probably the closest access to, let's say, employment. How inundated is your office at times when, let's say, during the summer months or any time of year where they're like, well, I'd like to work for the city, the township, I'll work anything. I'll scrub toilets. I'll work as a custodian. I'll work as a parking enforcement officer, whatever. How inundated is your inbox, whether it be your voicemail or your email about, oh, Mr. Mayor, I'm looking for work, and I'd really like to contribute to the town. I'd like to work for the town. I get it. Maybe the salary won't be high, but the health benefits are there. Pension. What do you say? Again, you can't just hire everybody, and I'm sure you have to turn some people away. What do those conversations look like?
Well, the good part about that is our form of government, I don't do the hiring. We have a township manager that does that. I often, though, get those emails and get those phone calls. We direct them right to the township manager's office, tell them to get a resume on file. And then I tell them, I say, listen, starting salaries are not great. In our office, in our DPW, starting salary could be $39,000. But eventually you quickly go up. And then you have those contractual obligations where you go up and you go up. The sad part is that people coming out of the private sector realize after a while it's not merit-based. So no matter how good I am at my job or how bad I am at my job, I'm still going to get the same paycheck. And that's where you lose the initiative. I own a business, and my employees all know that, the better they perform, the better that they get looked at when it comes time for bonuses. And unfortunately, it's just not that way in the public sector.
Mr. Mayor, folks, if you're just joining right now, it's 6:14 here on the East Coast. My guest tonight, the first half of tonight's double main event, he is the Honorable Mayor of the Township of Belleville, Michael Melham, join us here on Real Talk via Jersey First TV. Mr. Mayor, you mentioned the Emperor before. That's my cute little nickname for Phil Murphy. Not to insult Emperor Palpatine for all you Star Wars fans. It's like I'm doing a disservice to Emperor Palpatine. But I know that, the Emperor's actions during COVID and post-pandemic, I think, were not popular with a lot of mayors. For whatever reason, a lot of mayors were afraid to speak out against the Emperor. I know that you were very vocal. You continue to be vocal. Again, you're an independent. You're not someone that's beholden to a political party. What were those conversations like with, and I'll be respectful, with Governor Phil Murphy during the pandemic or even after the pandemic as we were moving away from that?
Well, yeah, you hit it right on the head. As an independent mayor, I have the ability to be a lot more outspoken. I'm not affiliated with any party, and I'm certainly not. I don't have to toe the party line or talk to party bosses or get that phone call or that text message from a party boss. Our relationship soured. I have to say, our relationship soured just before the pandemic, when it came time to the Newark water crisis and the way that Belleville was treated as opposed to the city of Newark was treated. And it really came to a head at that point. relationships were really tarnished. I have had the opportunity to see the governor a couple times since then. It's been cordial. As a matter of fact, about 2 months ago, we bumped into each other in Newark, and we had a nice conversation, nice private conversation between the two of us. So it is what it is. I have to say that the relationship just really isn't there. But the good part about that is I don't really rely much on the governor's office. I rely heavily on my legislative team. The team has always supported Belleville well, and I've always supported them likewise. So, I deal with my legislative team. Anything we need, they've always come through, and it's the ability to get where we have to get by going through the proper channels, whether it's our assembly people or our senator, have always been there for us here in Belleville.
And we'll get to the legislative candidates in a moment, because obviously it is an election year, less than 3 weeks away from I would argue, one of the more consequential election days in New Jersey electoral history. But getting back to the governor, I know that when I spoke with you last year, right before the League of Municipalities, I'm looking forward to seeing you again there later next month in Atlantic City. You caught some grief, though, Mr. Mayor, from, I believe, people at the governor's office, because you came out and endorsed Jack Ciattarelli, his Republican challenger. And let me preface this by saying that I was the only journalist in New Jersey that actually called that race close, where everyone was like, oh, Fernando's crazy. No, I knew that the governor was immensely unpopular in different sectors of the state, but it wasn't enough. And again, I don't want to sort of go after Jack. I like him personally. Again, I don't want to be the Monday morning quarterback here. There's a lot of things he could have done better. I'm hoping he learns this lesson should he be the nominee in 2025. But having said that, what was the grief you got? I'm sure you got some, whether it was from Essex County Chairman Leroy Jones, also who happens to be the state Democratic chair, and I'm sure Governor Murphy's office. What was that like?
Yeah, I think the first conversation I had was with Chairman Jones. As you said, Chairman is the state Democratic chairman, Essex County chairman. He's also the East Orange chairman. And I have a good relationship with him. We probably go to breakfast 2-3 times a year. And it was a couple days after I had bumped into him at an outing, and he kind of hit me in the back. And I turned around, he smiled at me, he said, "You endorsing anybody else this week?" And I said, "No, I think I'm pretty good." At that point, I think they didn't take it that serious, because Jack, they didn't think Jack had a chance. The sad part is if the polling was right, if the national polls were right, or even our local regional polls were right, federal money would have come in, national money would have come in, and I think that 3-point margin would have quickly been absorbed. There's no doubt about that. I did take some grief, but you know what? Even among Essex County, I guess it's people have short memories. I remember when our Essex County executive, Joe D., who I have a great relationship with, known him a long time, decades. I remember when he, a Democrat, endorsed Chris Christie.
Yep, so, I remember.
The headline, my comeback to all that was, if Joe D. can endorse Chris Christie, this independent mayor can endorse a Republican.
Absolutely. It's funny. People have short memories, but the internet doesn't forget. That's for sure. Let me ask you this, though, because it's interesting. And I mean, you are independent, though, Mr. Mayor. But one of the things that bothered me about 2021 was the fact that, Jack only lost by 3 points. But there was this element of tribalism, I think, among Republicans in New Jersey where, oh, well, Jack wasn't the right type of Republican or whatever. It was sort of a nasty primary process. And also, too, I'm just looking at my notes here. 38% of registered Republicans came out to vote. I think that's embarrassing. I think so. If you want to blame anybody for why we have a second term of the emperor, it's Republicans who got too tribal. Well, Jack's not conservative enough for A, B, and C, or D, E, F. And I think that, listen, Democrats are good. When they see a D next to someone's name, they'll rally behind them and vote. And I think Republicans, by being so tribal, though, Mr. Mayor, in 2021, again, even if so much 5% more Republicans came out to vote, I think we can make the case that Jack would have won, and we wouldn't have had, again, this chaos and mess that we continue to see with the highest property taxes in the country, a budget that's getting fatter than the latest Victoria's Secret models that they're auditioning out there, for God's sakes. I mean, it's crazy, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, you know what? I'll take it a step further. If Republican mayors stepped up and supported Jack, I think I was one of the only mayors in Essex County. There are Republican mayors in Essex County. I think I was the only mayor in Essex County, and I'm an independent, that actually came out for Jack. I had the opportunity yesterday. Belleville and Nutley have it's the last Columbus Day parade in all of Essex County, and I had the chance to be with some other elected officials from other towns, many of which were Republicans. And I said, guys, I remember a couple of years ago we had Jack walking in this parade, and you guys were running away from the guy. I mean, why were you guys running away from him? If you guys just supported him, if the people, Republicans out there that vote, saw their leaders backing Jack, I think that would have woke them up, and we would have gotten north of that 38% that actually came out for Republicans.
It's really embarrassing. Again, I say this all the time, and there are people at the NJGOP that don't like me, but I'm just telling you the truth. I mean, again, the truth isn't always easy to handle. But if you did a better job in messaging and everything else and really mobilize people, that's the case. Now, having said that, though, Mr. Mayor, let's move on 2 years later. Now, next, we're less than 3 weeks away from one of the more consequential, I think, legislative elections in my adult life. I mean, obviously, coming up in 3 weeks, all 120 legislative seats are at the top of the ballot. Okay, there's not a U.S. Senate seat up for grabs. There aren't House seats. It's not a presidential election year, a gubernatorial year. Again, we have Board of Ed races, which we'll get to a little bit in a moment. Obviously, my guest coming up at the bottom of the hour will talk more about that. Obviously, a guy I know you're a big fan of, but also county commissioner races. But this is a time, though, Mr. Mayor, where, we know what Governor Murphy does poorly. I think I don't have enough fingers and toes to list them, but this is a chance, I think, for Republicans in districts where I live in Hudson County. It's just Blues Windex. I mean, these are safely Democrat strongholds. Okay. Mm-hmm. But having said that, like, my mayor is also my state senator. So Brian Stack is a very sort of blue collar Democrat. He's a center left guy. He doesn't subscribe to all this woke nonsense where, like, other legislators openly are telling us that they failed high school biology when they took it years ago. They subscribe to poor economic theory and practices and policies, but that's not the case. But there are really far left legislators in Trenton that need to go. And I think in a year where, and I'll use a sports analogy for everybody that watches the NFL, the wind is two Republicans back this year. We know that in certain districts, LD4 up by, west of me in Bergen County, LD 36 and 38 respectively, and even down the shore, these are districts that Republicans can make some gains. But I'm a cynic. They either get stopped at the goal line or they fumble the football. I think we can't have that this year, though, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, as an independent, somebody doesn't really have a say when it comes to the primaries. The Republicans would be best served focusing on the districts that they can win and really putting boots on the ground there, really turning out their votes there. And they do have a chance to flip some of those districts that you did mention. As you said, in Hudson County and where I am in Essex County, in my opinion, Jesus Christ can come back down and run the Republican line. He's going to lose. Mickey Mouse can go up on the Democrat line, probably going to win. So you have to be practical when it comes to, where we live and where I govern and all that. But there are certainly districts out there that can be flipped if the Republicans want to win. I've honestly questioned in the last couple of years whether or not Republicans want to win and if they know how to win. It might be a combination of both. But they really should focus. They should definitely focus on the districts that they can flip, put some boots on the ground there, get involved in the vote by mail game, something that I'm big on. Make sure they get their votes, bank those votes early so they get north of that 38%. That 38% is a loser. It's a loser all day long.
I agree with you. And let me sort of add one more thing to that as well. You mentioned about vote by mail. That's not going anywhere. Also, early voting. I think Republicans have to sort of be smart, just like Democrats are. Vote by mail works for you too. Early voting works for you too. You have to get the message out. Listen, I like to go vote in person. I have that luxury, but not everybody does. And now in a climate where it's becoming easier to vote, and again, there's always discrepancies I'm worried about, but again, for the most part, I'm hoping and trusting the process is legitimate. Having said that, I think this is where, legislative candidates can win, especially, to try to flip those districts red. Having said that, again, where you live, though, Mr. Mayor, you're in the heart of Essex County. What's the relationship like for you with your current representatives in the Assembly and in the State Senate?
They're leaving. So we got redistricted. So we're one of those districts that totally swapped out all of our state legislators, our two Assembly and our Senate. I had a great relationship. Senator Teresa, I've known her for decades. She was an advocate for Belleville. She was certainly an advocate for our schools. We could put party politics aside. I don't really care what her national or international thoughts are on party politics. I care about whether or not my legislative team can deliver and will deliver for Belleville. So I have to say, relationship was great. I am sad. We've actually talked about that. I was sad to see them leave. Now we're going to be inheriting a brand new legislative team. We're going to have two new people. So right now, the people that are going to be running for the Assembly have never held office before at a state level. I know one of the women that running for Senate, she's been an Assemblywoman. So, we stand to inherit a team that I'm going to have to work with. I know everybody well. We have a Belleville resident that's actually on that ticket. So I've had her here in Belleville. I've introduced her to some of our Board of Education people, and I've let her know that Belleville's a small town. We're not that urban center that Passaic and Patterson and Jersey City and Newark are. We're a small town. We want to keep that small town feeling. I'm going to make sure that they remember that they represent a small town when they go to Trenton.
Mr. Mayor, you mentioned Board of Ed. Obviously, this year, as I alluded to, legislative races are really sort of the main event topic. But just as important, we have county commission races. We have council races in municipalities all over New Jersey. Case in point, nearby nearby Hoboken has council races. I'm hoping that some of the clowns that live in Hoboken get the boot in 3 weeks, but we'll see. But I think what's also going under the radar is really the importance of Board of Ed races. And in many districts throughout the state, yes, there are some school boards that are appointed by the municipality, case in point, the mayor. But there are other municipalities, just like yours and others, that are electorally based. And certainly, we have a great candidate coming up at the bottom of the hour. We'll talk about that. But I have to tell you, Mr. Mayor, in a time where someone like me, who is a dedicated conservative, I think I'm on the right side of this issue when it comes to culture wars. And I think that Board of Ed races have become so, I think, interesting because, again, and not to be having a civics class here, but folks, spoiler alert, your property taxes pay for your school budgets, okay? So when parents want to go to school board meetings and complain, they have every right to. This vilification of parents, though, Mr. Mayor, about going to school board meetings, objecting to either the budgets, how money is spent, or more importantly, curriculum, what books are being disseminated, and what literature is being made available for kids as young as 5. I hate to break it to people, especially all these social justice clowns and the woke crusaders. Parents have a right to object, Mr. Mayor, and I think these Board of Ed races are at the core, I would argue, of the culture war. Is that fair to say?
It's absolutely fair to say. I think we've seen that statewide. Being an independent like I am, it doesn't mean I'm 50-50. It doesn't mean I'm right in the middle. It means I pick and choose what side of topics I land on. And I think you're absolutely right. This is a conservative issue. I think that when it comes down to anytime, I tell my nieces this all the time, anytime a question boils down to whether or not you have less rights or more rights, fight for more rights. Simple as that. Fight and stand by and support the people that are going to support you and give you those rights. So I think we've seen that statewide in these local Board of Education races. Now, what's happening now in our schools, it's much akin to a couple of years ago. I would have never in a million years thought elected officials, mayors, a couple of years ago were trashing police and we're standing up there at a podium saying defund the police. Well, now it's the same thing. It's not about defund the police or trashing police anymore. It's about parental rights now. I mean, the fact that you think that it's okay to make decisions, unelected bureaucrats in Trenton making decisions to how your children. I don't have a stake in this. I don't a horse in this race. I don't have children. I'm not a parent. I never was. But if I ever had a child or my nieces went to a school and they were being told something that my sister didn't want them to learn, or they were being forced to read something or being exposed to curriculum that's well beyond their age group, I would have a serious problem with that. And I tell people all the time, I get people that come out to my council meetings yelling and screaming all the time, and that's okay. But they also need to get out to these Board of Education. A lot of people are just uninformed. I get so many emails. We had an issue in our middle school last week that could have been a tragic incident last week. And I must have gotten 8 or 10 emails on it by parents appealing to me to change the situation. They don't realize that the municipality is its own form of government. And we need to get parents to those Board of Education meetings. I think 2 meetings ago, our Board of Education had no speakers there. They had not. Now, granted, Belleville's a little different. I think they're doing well. We have a board there that's working together to get some things done. So we're not like some of these controversial boards. So therefore, you don't have it. But we're looking to make sure that we support candidates. And you're going to have Steve, great guy. Him and Brenda are going to be people that are both supported and endorsed by me and most of my team there. And we're going to make sure that we get good qualified people on there to make sure they hold that line for parental rights. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely. Folks, it's 6:27 here on the East Coast. We're wrapping up shortly with Belleville Mayor, the Honorable Michael Melham here on Real Talk. Folks, don't go anywhere. Second half of our double main event comes up at the bottom of the hour with Steve Leon, Belleville Board of Education candidate, in just a few minutes. So you definitely want to stick around for that, as well as final thoughts. Also, Mayor, it's interesting, you are independent, but you're a very commonsensical guy. You don't subscribe to a lot of the woke nonsense. No. Again, case in point, in 2020, when, the governor is marching in Hillside, New Jersey, when he told everybody to stay home, but he's out there marching with these social justice clowns for George Floyd, a career criminal, and all that nonsense. Yeah, but you had to stay home, right? Mm-hmm. But because COVID didn't spread among the rallies about defunding the police and all that other stupidity that the left subscribes to. But it's interesting because this summer, apparently the woke nonsense made its way into Belleville at the conclusion of the summer concert series. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, it did, and I guess I'm a good target for them. The Twitter trolls often come out for me. They came out for me during COVID. They came out for me during the vaccine issues. And you're right. We have a summer concert series, something that we get the township together for 8 weeks in a row every single Thursday. We end our summer concert series the last Thursday in August with fireworks, and because of that, the genre we picked to do that through is country music. So I had simply asked our country band that was coming in, hey, this was a month before. The mayor really, really is a big country fan. He's a big fan of Jason Aldean. How about you guys make sure that you could play one of his songs, which is Try That in a Small Town? And the answer came back from them saying, no, they wouldn't do it. We went back to them and said, well, are you sure? The mayor's office is really making this request. And a couple of days before, they still doubled down on it. They wouldn't play the song. So no problem. We have intermission. If you know anything about me, I'm a pretty good marketer. So next thing you know, during intermission, a huge video, a jumbo screen video truck pulls onto the property. And not only did we play the song, but I had the video, a feature presentation of that video streamed over that jumbotron, and it was absolutely amazing. The place went crazy. I got so much love. The people loved it. And then it went on Twitter. And once it got on Twitter, I got called everything from, hashtag white supremacist mayor. I'm a racist. I'm a this. I'm a that. And you know what? I stood there with our police department. We brought up our police. Everybody was handshaking them and high-fiving them and giving them thumbs up. We are a small town. That's never going to change in Belleville, and I'm never going to shy away from an argument like that.
Listen, bravo to you. I mean, listen, I'm popping right now for you. I mean, that was great. I'm glad you took that stance, because far too often, again, listen, it's Columbus Day, and I'm not going to subscribe to all this nonsense. It almost seems like, Mr. Mayor, again, as a history educator, it's funny to me. We're like, do you think that when Columbus, sailed the ocean blue in 1492, we learned all that stuff. Do you think that hundreds of years before Columbus, did you think the Vikings in Northern Europe were settling land disputes by sitting at a table? Newsflash, folks, they slaughtered people. Not saying it's correct, but that's the truth. Do you think tribes in Africa, folks, were sitting around a campfire saying, hey, you know what? This piece of land is yours and that piece of land is mine? No, they did what everybody else did in human history. So the idea that, again, on a day like today, to take down statues of Columbus, to rename it, Indigenous Peoples Day. I mean, listen, it reminds me, though, Mr. Mayor, about the far left and the woke left. They will not waste a moment's opportunity to just either suffocate you with this nonsense. And I'm glad mayors like you stood up to them and all the stupidity online, because at some point, like, folks, you got to grow up here. This is just childish. But again, what do you expect from the woke left, though, Mr. Mayor?
Right. Absolutely. As I said, Belleville, Nutley, we're together. We're joined at the hip. We have the last Columbus Day parade in Essex County, and there is a statue of Columbus in front of Belleville Township Hall. There have been calls to remove it, and they come to public meetings. They have their opportunity to speak politely at our podium. They have their 5 minutes to say their piece, and then they're dismissed for the next person to speak. And we tell them all the time, your comments are noted. Thank you very much.
It's really funny to me, some of the missions and crusades that people take. I think when in a time when people can't afford gas and grocery shopping's becoming like suffocating, again, real world issues. It's funny how statues trigger people, Mr. Mayor. Before I let you go, I have to say, though, Mr. Mayor, I talked to a lot of people in the state, and your name continues to skyrocket, almost like inflation. And on a political level, I keep hearing, hey, listen, at some point, Mike's going to take that dive. Mike's going to pull that trigger. And I could see Michael going to the legislature, or even, in some point in the future, maybe taking a stance and picking a party and maybe a gubernatorial candidacy. Is there anything that's on your peripheral vision? Is there anything on the horizon that maybe you want to kind of share with us tonight? Or are you not thinking about that right now?
Yeah, I mean, what's on my horizon is very clear. Township of Belleville. We have a lot of work to do here. And I'm not going to give you that. I mean, that's a BS answer that everybody tends to give, but it is true. It's something that's on my vision here is Belleville. I'm an independent, I mean, Fernando, you and I can talk about it all night. As an independent, I don't have a party. I don't have a trajectory. I don't have a party boss. I don't have a system to plug into. Yes, there would be the opportunity to potentially one day pick a party. That party probably would not be Democrat. But then again, I want to be with winners, and I don't see Republicans really fighting that hard to win anymore. So right now I'm stuck. Belleville's got me right now for at least another 3 years or so. I'm not term limit out. I could always go again if I want to.
You know what? You got to love the answer, folks. Carefully crafted. You know what? A good speaker after my own heart. Mr. Mayor, again, before I let you go, I want to thank you for your time. You're always a gentleman. And I really appreciate the fact that you take the time to come on this program, that you believe in this program, because it's legit. It's not going anywhere. It gets great traffic. And more so, the reason it's great is because of candidates like yourself, though. So I want to thank you. But before I let you go, what, again, as we approach 2024, any big projects we should look for really within the town of Belleville? And what are you really excited about tackling in the new year?
I mean, we've hit a lot of benchmarks. We've gone through a recreational renaissance here in Belleville. We're really waiting for some of these buildings that have been long planned to come on board. We've been welcoming new residents left and right, but we have some really nice buildings with some great amenities. If you're a young professional with disposable income, we have a building coming up with a rooftop infinity pool looking at New York City with cabanas on the roof. That might be one that I live in one day, and I welcome you here to Belleville for sure.
Listen, we got to grab dinner, hopefully before the league or maybe at the league or after the league. Let's try to grab a beer or a dinner, because I keep hearing all these great restaurants are in Belleville. And I'm like, well, wait a second. I might have to, link up with Mayor Melham and be like, yo, Mr. Mayor, show me around town. What's the best restaurants to eat at? Real quick, what's a restaurant you love the most?
My go-to place is Bricks. Underrated for some odd reason, but I love it. The food is fantastic there. And we have, of course, the legendary Belmont Tavern with world-famous chicken Savoy.
You know what? Let's link up. Let's grab a dinner. Let's go BS a little bit and not talk politics. Let's talk about other things in life, and let's do that sometime soon.
Thank you,
folks. He is Belleville Mayor Michael Melham, again our guest tonight here on Real Talk via Jersey First TV. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll talk to you again soon here on Jersey First TV.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Have a good night, folks. Great episode there. Obviously with Belleville Mayor Michael Melham, and certainly one of the really hard-working mayors in the state. I mean, I always say that the hardest-working mayor in the state of New Jersey is my mayor, Brian P. Stack, here in Union City. But I'll tell you, Michael Melham, he's right up there, man. He is constantly working. He is with the community, and he's responsive. And quite frankly, folks, he's organic and he's transparent. I think that's why not only winning another term, but being that mayor that is really becoming a favorite, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or independent in Belleville or even in Essex County, he's a guy you definitely want to keep an eye out for. Folks, bottom of the hour here, 6:35 here on the East Coast. I promised you a double main event, and you know what? I always deliver. And joining me now, also from the Township of Belleville, he is a candidate for the Belleville Board of Education. And I have to tell you, folks, as a devoted Memorial High School alumnus in West New York, New Jersey, it's my privilege to bring to the program tonight Mr. Steve Leon here to Real Talk. Steve, how are you?
How are you doing, Fernando? Thank you for having me tonight.
Good to talk to you. And go Tigers! I'll say that all day. Go Tigers, baby. Go Tigers.
It is go Tigers all day.
Absolutely. Steve, now again, I applaud you for running for Board of Ed, and I think it's one of these election seasons where Board of Ed races are becoming just as interesting, if not more interesting, than legislative races, county commissioner races, even town council races. I would argue in a time like right now, again, I'm the only conservative or even journalist in New Jersey talking about the culture wars, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but more importantly, the importance of Board of Ed races and what these positions mean. So for our audience tonight, tell us a little bit more about, quite frankly, what you're running for.
Well, running for one of the board seats in the Belleville Board of Ed trustees position. Over the last, I would say, year or two, we've been seeing how some of the parent rights have been taken away by big government. And, it not necessarily, I haven't seen necessarily in Jersey, but, other parts of the country where parents are getting arrested at board meetings. Parents are being left out of what they're teaching their kids, the curriculum, parental notification. Is an issue that's starting up right now. And, just speaking to my wife, and we don't have any kids, but, we are planning on that one day. And, just speaking with her, I was just like, we can't be in a school system where we're not notified what's going on with the kids. And I'm not saying that's the case with Belleville. I just want to make sure that doesn't happen and doesn't get to Belleville, and we keep our parents involved in the school system.
Well said there. Folks, if you're just joining us right now, it's at 6:40 here on the East Coast, and my guest tonight, second half of tonight's double main event, he is a distinguished candidate for the Belleville Board of Education trustee position and Memorial High School varsity boys basketball coach. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Leon joins us here on Real Talk. Steve, let me ask you, because again, you brought up some very interesting points, and I'm really the only journalist in New Jersey talking about the importance of parental rights, I've been, obviously I've had, organizations on this show from, Moms for Liberty, obviously other organizations that have taken an interest in my program. And as you said, I think very, very succinctly, that's not necessarily what's happening in Belleville, but you do want to make sure that, hey, you're in that apparatus to take the precautions necessary to make sure that what's happening in other school boards in New Jersey doesn't happen to Belleville. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. Being a son of a father who came from Cuba, the ability to run for office and have a say is not the case in Cuba.
Yeah.
And, we've always spoken, and, thank God for this country. You're able to run for office and be a voice. And, this is something that I really do believe in. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of what's motivating me to come out and run. It was an honor when, the mayor reached out to run for the position, but I know I can't do it alone. There's going to be 7 board members that are there. My running mate, Brenda Pacheco, she's also on our team. It's going to take all of us to work together to make sure that we're on the same page and we're doing what's best for the kids and the parents and the district as a whole.
Well, I mean, listen, getting the endorsement of Mayor Michael Melham, I think, goes a long way. And I think it's instrumental in really getting that name recognition out there, which you need, especially, again, in a Board of Ed race where again, you're not running for Senate here. I mean, we're talking about a small township, knocking on doors, phone banking, using social media, sending out mailers. How exhausted are you, bro?
So when I first started, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. The events are fine. Going to event with me and my wife, we always would go to the events that went around town. I think the drainage part is the whole social media aspect. Just people just throwing you under the mud. I mean, I've only been in town for 3 years, and people are talking like they've known me my entire life. And it's not a big part. It's just the same 3-4 people. I just wish they would give me the opportunity to get to know me. Have a conversation, have an espresso right here in town, and just talk. But unfortunately, their mind is made up. They're with their opposition, which is fine. I understand loyalty, but the whole thing of just dragging people under the mud, it just that's the exhausting part. It's the mental part. And but it's not going to stop me. I got thick skin. Just from being a coach for my first 2 years, we only won 4 games the first 2 years. And I was a butt of a lot of jokes on social media, but we were able to turn that around, that program. So I'm used to it already.
Listen, go Tigers. That's all I can say. I'll keep saying it every day. Go Tigers. I'll keep saying it. I don't care. But having said that, though, Steve, though, it's a reminder about how fickle politics gets, and even at a local level. Never mind, national politics, right? Like, never mind next year. I mean, I'm dreading next year with the presidential election. I mean, you want to see tribalism on steroids. You're going to see it next year. Okay, with that, you'll see it with Senate races, House races, certainly, maybe some town council races. But when we think about a Board of Ed race in a township like Belleville, we're not talking about Newark. We're not talking about like Jersey City. We're talking about millions of dollars being spent on these campaigns, or Elizabeth or New Brunswick. We're talking about the township of Belleville, a nice suburban area in Essex County. And you don't expect this sort of fickleness. And it's tragic when, at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is simply give parents a voice and to make sure that the Board of Ed is run functionally, that they're not spending more than they should. And again, folks, as I mentioned with the mayor at the top of the hour, brief civics lessons here, okay? Property taxes pay for your school budgets, all right, folks? So if parents want to go to school board meetings and speak during the public portion and they want to air their grievances, newsflash, they can do that because their taxes are paying for schools. So before we start vilifying parents and demonizing parents, like, you need to chill, because parents and renters or property owners, those property taxes are what fund school boards. So when a school district gets new MacBooks or new iPads or other supplies and other amenities, guess what? That's coming from your property taxes. And why not manage them better, or why not make sure and scrutinize how these tax dollars are spent? Is that fair to say, Steve?
Absolutely. I think the issue that happens is that elected officials sometimes forget who got them there to begin with.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think they think they're bigger than what they are. And I think sometimes they take for granted that it's the people that voted for them and got them in there. And you are a public servant. You work for the people. It's not the other way around. And unfortunately, I think that's what happens in some of these districts where, these trustees just treat these parents like, they're peasants or whatnot. and it doesn't make sense to me. And if I was in those board meetings and they were throwing me off, I would have a very big issue being thrown out of a meeting when I'm just there for, the best interest of my child. So, yeah, I think that's what the issue is sometimes I think of elected officials, and in this case, trustee members, take for granted that it's the parents, it's the residents that put them there in the first place.
Absolutely. Having said that, it is it's a Board of Ed race. More times than not, even at the municipal level, these become nonpartisan races. Is that, again, and just for my own edification for our audience, is that the same case here in this Board of Ed race? It's not a party, like you're not representing a party, you're just representing you and your running mate in a ticket, right?
Correct. It's there's no party lines or anything like that. We're just better Belleville. That's what we are.
Okay, fair enough. But has this race become a little bit more political? Has it become politicized in Belleville?
From the little that I've seen on social media, I haven't seen that that politicized, weaponization online and whatnot. I think it's been kind of quiet, but again, we're only in October 9th. Who knows how much uglier it can get or what people will say from here to then. I can only speak on what I believe in, what our team believes in, but politics in terms of it being Democratic ideologies, Republican ideologies, that hasn't really been a topic of discussion and what I've seen online and on Facebook and Instagram.
Steve, let me ask you this. Obviously, you're running because I think it's fair to say, like anyone would say, that you're running because you're not happy with the representation there. Having said that, again, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I mean, that's sort of like normally what we can conclude why people run, even at the local level, for these type of positions. What can you assure parents, teachers, teacher aides, employees in the school district? What can you assure them about? And again, I'm rooting for you and your running mate on November 7th. So please, guys, get out there and vote, please, for Steve and his running mate. Having said that, what do you want to tackle that you feel is not being tackled or addressed presently by the trustees at the Belleville Board of Education?
I think our current board of trustees right now are doing a fine job. I think the school is heading in the right direction. You see a lot of investments in the schools. And in terms of for what I'm getting in, I just want to make sure that my what I believe in is represented. And I think with my 12 years of teaching experience, coaching, being Latino myself, when the school was 77% Hispanic, I can understand where a lot of these students are coming from. I went to Memorial High School. It's a very
Tigers.
Yes,
Tigers.
Very Hispanic community, but it was also very diverse when I was growing up in the early 90s.
It was, yeah.
So I think I bring that ability to relate to these kids and relate to these parents. And I've always felt like I've had more to give in the education system, and this is just one of these things that I'm saying I'm going to go for it and then see if I can make a difference.
Have there been any discussions whatsoever? Because sometimes even in Board of Ed races, we see it in Jersey City, we've seen it in Hoboken. I mean, obviously, bigger municipalities. But having said that, are there any discussions right now underway with about 3 weeks to go about any potential debates for candidates that are running for trustees for the Board of Ed, or is that not even on the radar?
Yeah, so I believe the date is November 4th. Belleville High School, the law organization invited us and all the candidates to have like a little debate. Not so much a debate of going back and forth, but just it's 25 questions. They're randomly asked to each of the candidates, and
like a town hall. Like a town hall.
No, I believe it's at the school. I'll get the exact.
Let's say a town hall type of meeting where.
Yes, correct. Yes.
Okay.
So it's not a debate. It's not a going back and forth or anything like that. But it gives you an opportunity to present yourself. Discuss why you feel you're qualified to run for board. What are your intentions? What are your aspirations? And answer the questions that the parents may have. And I think it's a great thing that we participate in it because, like I just said a while ago, the parents are the ones that get you there. The residents are the ones that get you there. So if they want to hear me speak, I'm all for it.
Having said that, you just mentioned some of the questions that are there. I'll ask it right now. Why are you qualified?
Well, I've been in education now for 12 years now. I've taught through the levels of K through 12 in the grammar schools, from kindergarten all the way to seniors. Been a coach for 10 years now. Had varsity coach at Memorial, 12 years overall coaching. So, just being able to deal with, some of the most hardened kids, because in basketball, we have kids that have some tough situations, and they may have 504s, they might have IAPs, and it's my job to make sure I get them through from their freshman year all the way to senior year. And, I've been doing that for 10 years now, just as the head coach. And I feel like I have a really good understanding of what kids need to succeed and to walk in through those doors and walk out, on that June day, 4 years later. And it's just, I really have the passion right now. I have the energy, I'm a motivated person. That's pretty much where I'm at.
Steve, having said that, there, as you mentioned, there's been some criticism about you and your running mate about, the ticket that you formed, and obviously you're running coming up on November the 7th. Very simply, what's not true about what's being said by some of your cynics and critics?
Well, the big one that's floating around is that, we're puppets to the mayor. It's just, it couldn't be further the truth. Listen, I am my own man, and Mayor Melham told me right from the beginning. He's like, listen, I want you to run, but I'm never gonna call you to pull strings to hire this person. He just wants good people to do good work. And I've been fortunate enough to get to know him over the last 3 years, and him to get to know me. I came to mind when he wanted to put someone to run for this ticket. And that's how it came down to. People will contradict me when I say I want to get the teachers a better pay scale. One person will say, "Oh, well, that sounds like a tax increase." Well, if I'm a puppet, why would I ever suggest anything that would be a tax increase on the taxpayer if I'm the puppet to the mayor? It's one of those things that just don't make sense. Sometimes they're contradictory. At the end, what I'm trying to do is make sure do what's best for the kids. And if it means that we have to please the teachers to get more teachers in the door, maybe start up a little, increase the first step to try to get those kids coming out of college at Montclair, William Patterson, Kane. If that's what it takes, we would have to look at the books and see where we can move money around. But the overall intention is for the kids. And that's the puppet thing is the one that gets to me. They think it's a control of the board. That's the furthest thing from the truth.
It's absurd. Steve, let me ask you this. You mentioned you're not a parent yet, God willing, hopefully soon. But it seems like parents are being vilified in this climate right now, right? Like the culture wars about Board of Educations, what books are being banned, what books are being shared with kids as young as 5 years old, curriculums coming from Trenton. There seems to be a lot of chatter going around. Is that sort of a focal point about this race in Belleville where, hey, it's not happening in Belleville maybe yet, but we see other townships and other school districts in New Jersey where, hey, whether it's Moms for Liberty, Gays Against Groomers, the New Jersey Project, these organizations that mean well, that are well-intentioned, are going to these school board meetings and raising awareness against maybe trustees that don't have the best interest of kids. Is the culture war also at the center of what's going on in Belleville in this race for Board of Ed? No, that hasn't really been the case in terms of what I've been seeing online and whatnot. I think everyone that's pretty much on that's running, no one has sounded like an extremist on that end. We are certainly not anywhere close to doing that. We definitely believe the parents should be involved, and it should really come down to what the parents want. I mean, if I don't agree necessarily, teaching a second grader, having sexual conversations with a second grader, our New Jersey curriculum says different. But if the parents should be involved, and they should know that they have the opportunity to opt out of some of these stuffs. And I don't know if that's the case throughout the state. If trustees are giving this information to parents, letting them know what is supposed to be taught by the state. I think big government. I think the state is getting too involved in curriculum, and it's an election year, so now that's why it's a hot topic. Certainly, and I think we should just get back to what matters is making sure the kids can read, make sure the kids can write, they can do math, they know their sciences. We're too busy talking about sex ed and gender ideologies, and we have kids that are in 7th grade reading at a 4th grade level. I think we need to focus back on what really matters, and that's educating the kids. And at the same time, too, also, I think Board of Education's also created good checks and balances against Trenton. And, I know you'll take the high road and be a gentleman. I don't have to. The Emperor and his lapdog, the Attorney General, Matty Platkin, I mean, we all know they've been in the headlines. We all know sort of like the collision course that they seem to be on with some school boards throughout the state. So it's definitely something to, watch out for, and certainly in yours. Before I let you go, I know you got a fundraiser in a few minutes, but just real quick, you're a basketball coach. I got to pick your brain, bro. I'm a big NBA fan. I've loved basketball for as long as I can remember. I don't know about you, man. To me, the GOAT conversation gets people very tribal. It gets very emotional. I'm more along the line, again, as an academic, as a broadcast journalist, as someone, with infinite wisdom. I always try to say, listen, I like to look at guys in eras. And whether it's Kareem, Magic, Larry Bird, to Michael, to Kobe, to LeBron, I think sometimes how we quantify GOAT conversations or legacies is interesting because, folks, the NBA logo is Jerry West. Newsflash, Jerry West is 1-8 in his record in the finals. Okay. Yep. The logo is 1-8 in the finals. Does anyone ever defecate on Jerry West? I don't think so. So again, as a basketball coach, when this is barbershop talk, obviously, but when you hear this about who's the GOAT and who's that, I look at all these variables, different eras, different rules, different conditioning, science as advanced, health and wellness, dieting, nutrition. I think it's an unfair conversation to have, Steve, or am I wrong?
I mean, listen, there's so many variables in the game of basketball. I mean, like you said, there's errors, there's different rules, different the free agency that works. I mean, Bill Russell was on the Celtics and he had 4 or 5 Hall of Famers on his team. You can't do that today with all 32 NBA teams and how free agency works.
They've tried.
Yeah. LeBron, he started the whole super team thing. But it definitely the errors thing. But if I had to pick a player that I think would do well in any era, that would definitely be Michael Jordan. He would be my pick. Kobe Bryant. But in terms of the GOAT, I still go with MJ. I think he revolutionized the game. He made the game a global game after the 92 Olympics. Yeah. And that's why basketball is where it's today and why those players get what they get paid. I mean, $60 million to shoot a basketball. It would be a dream for me to do that.
I should have practiced my free throws in elementary school. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, though, Steve, any important links, social media, websites, anything that helps, motivate people to get involved with your campaign and volunteer and help you out as, we're 3 weeks away.
Yeah. I mean, listen, all my pages are public. So just feel free to reach out to me on Instagram at Coach Leon _ and it's Steve Leon on Facebook. Please message me if you're interested in getting involved, and we would love your support and your time. So just feel free to reach out to me on my personal social media, Coach Leon _ Steve Leon on Facebook, and we'll connect and yeah, I'll share all the information and all the questions you may have. We can speak there and meet in person, whatever it takes.
Steve, I'm pulling for you and your running mate in this race. Tell me about her very, very quickly.
Well, Brenda was she was a para in Belleville for about 17 years. She worked with special needs kids. We were walking in the parade yesterday, and she was like the rock star. You would have thought that she was the mayor of Belleville because all I heard was Miss Brenda, Miss Brenda, Miss Brenda, and I'm the little guy in the back, like I'm
Sure.
here too. But she's very, very passionate about the kids. She knows the kids by name, and they're like 17, 18 years old. She remembers when they were little kindergartners. It's a credit to how much love and passion she has for education. I think she's a great contributor to the team. She's a single mom, a parent of 3 kids. She's made it work on her own. She's a strong-willed woman, and I think that's a great. Those are great attributes to have for our board.
Again, folks, on November 7th, it's 3 weeks away. You have choices, and the best choice, I would say, for the Belleville Board of Education, one of them is right there. My guest tonight, Steve Leon. Obviously a great teacher, and obviously the boys varsity basketball coach at my alma mater, Memorial High School. Go Tigers. Steve, when you win and I'm pulling for you, we got to grab like to eat at Las Palmas, or we'll go somewhere, bro, and celebrate.
Absolutely. Yeah. We go to Las Palmas. We'll go to La Pola, whatever it takes. Dos Amigos. We'll make it happen.
Oh my God, I haven't been there forever. Oh my goodness.
Best Cuban sandwiches in America.
Absolutely. Folks, he's Steve Leon, Belleville Board of Education candidate, trustee candidate coming up on November 7th. Folks, go vote. Trust me, it goes a long way. And Steve Leone is one of those candidates you can certainly believe in the township of Belleville. Steve, God bless you. Keep up the fight, and best of luck coming up on election night.
Will do, bro. Thank you for having me. Have a great night.
Happy to help out, man. God bless you. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
Folks, great show tonight here with our guests. Obviously, a double main event, top of the hour. Belleville Mayor Michael Melham, a big fan of the show, and certainly Steve Leone, head basketball coach for boys varsity at my alma mater, Memorial High School. That's right. Go Tigers. I'll say it all day, every day. Go Tigers. I'm definitely pulling for him and his running mate on November the 7th. Folks, a lot to get to here before we call it a night. Again, great guests here this evening. And let me tell you, folks, okay, you know what time it is. It's time for final thoughts. And I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that certainly a very volatile time in our political climate and obviously in our global climate about what things that are going on around the world. And without a doubt, my heart and prayers go out to, innocent people that are being victimized right now over in the Middle East, over in Israel. Certainly my thoughts and prayers are with them. And just seeing some of these horrors and videos is awful. But if there's ever a chance to bloviate and, I don't know anyone that's probably more in love with the sound of their own voice than this guy. But folks, Alan Steinberg never misses an opportunity, okay, to be sanctimonious, to bore us with his columns. But what caught my attention about a column this morning by Alan Steinberg, and it never ceases to amaze me because this is a guy who, is as far left as anybody. And, shame on Insider NJ that keep enabling this fool. I mean, really, Max Bizzarro, Pete O'Neill, and the Graham family, shame on you guys. You keep enabling this fool every single week with his columns, whether it's his sanctimony, whether how intellectually bankrupt he is along political lines. It's scary. They keep giving this guy a platform. Having said that, I take great exception with his latest column, or more of his propaganda piece that he published today. And I'm just going to tell you the title, which really, really caught my eye. And it says 9/11 in New Jersey, 2001, 9/11 in Israel, 2023. So, of course, I'm not going to read you the whole article because I don't want to put you to sleep. It's 7 o'clock, and I'm sure you want to have dinner, watch Monday Night Football, watch Monday Night Raw, watch The Voice on NBC. You want to do things instead of going to sleep, which I'm sure Al, it's 7:04. Yeah, he's way past his bedtime already. I'm sure he's sleeping. So he'll probably catch the replay time because he can't help himself. But having said that, he goes off with saying the murders attacks by Hamas of Israeli citizens this weekend constituted a tragic, horrific first-time event in Israel's history. The Jewish state has suffered massive losses of lives in past wars, most notably the Yom Kippur War of 1973, which was also an unanticipated attack. Losses in that war, however, were overwhelmingly combatants. Unarmed Israeli civilians, for the most part, never found themselves in harm's way. The Yom Kippur War, from a historical perspective, can best be compared to the destruction of the American Pacific Fleet and the loss of 3,000 lives at Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, where the losses of lives were primarily not civilians. In truth, an opposite comparison can be made between the Hamas uncivilized murders, kidnappings, and misogynistic brutality towards women in the past weekend and the destruction of the World Trade Center and the slaughter of those present on September 11th, 2001. I have a unique perspective on these events. What a surprise. All right. I was in Israel on September 11, 2001. Well, quite frankly, I'm sure I speak on behalf of many in New Jersey that wish you would have stayed there and never have come back. The day of New Jersey's 9/11, and in New Jersey this past weekend for Israel's 9/11, right? It's been on my mind all weekend. On September 11, 2001, I was participating in a mission to Israel sponsored by the Metro West Jewish Federation, the purpose of which was to comfort Israeli victims of terrorism. By the end of the day, the Israelis were comforting us. We received the news after lunch at the Eruz crossing in northern Gaza, the same location where Hamas launched its invasion this past weekend. The truth must be told about Hamas and the Israeli, quote, occupation. Hamas is not a heroic revolutionary organization fighting for freedom, which he's right about. But then again, a clock is right twice a day too. It is instead a Nazi-like collection of inhumane, brutal lowlives whose charter, as noted by the famed columnist Jeffrey Goldberg, is an incitement to genocide of the people of Israel. Now, I'm not going to, bore you with the rest of it. Interesting line here. I am well aware of the claims of Palestinian Arab nationalism. My honors undergraduate thesis in political science at Northwestern was on the development of Palestinian Arab nationalism. And accordingly, I understand Palestinian Arab nationalism, but I do not sympathize with it. And I'm not going to sort of bore you with the rest of this, but what's really interesting here is President Biden is a friend of Israel and will fulfill his pledge of assistance. Yeah, I'm still waiting for his pledge to knock out my student loans, Ali. So, I mean, don't hold your breath there, bro. The refusal of Secretary of State Tony Blinken to recognize the role of Iran in the slaughter of Israeli civilians is most disturbing. Why should you be surprised? Going back to the Obama days when your boy Joe, Sleepy Joe, was vice president, I mean, they coddled Iran at every moment. So why should you be surprised? Now, Tony Blinken is a devotee of the failed Barack Obama, John Kerry school of appeasement of Iran. The Clintons, Bill and Hillary, do recognize the Iranian danger. No, they recognize the ability to make money. And if they can make money in Iran, that's what Bill and Hillary are concerned about. They're not concerned about dangers. They're concerned with lining their pockets. If you know anything about Bill and Hillary Clinton, that's the truth. They should also advise Biden to remove and replace Blinken as post haste. Now, none of the $6 billion being held in escrow in Qatar should be released to Iran. Money is fungible. And although the $6 billion ostensibly is to be utilized only for humanitarian purposes, the release of these monies to Iran will enable the totalitarian Iranian regime to utilize other funds in their treasury for terrorism assistance. No effing blank, Alan, as if we didn't know this. But again, it would take you to talk about this more often than not just when there's an attack on Israel. You should be harping on this forever. You should be harping on how inept this administration and the one he also served on from 2009 to 2017, how inept they were when it came to Iran, but not a peep. And this is the funny part about his column here. I have problems with both American political parties on Israel. More on this in a future column. Jesus Christ. As if I need any other supplements to induce sleep or to help me get to sleep faster. I'm waited with bated breath for his next column on this, okay? But this is the problem, and this is my issue with Al. Al, newsflash. What happened on this past weekend is nowhere near even the comparison of what happened on 9/11 in 2001, okay? And while you were away in Israel, and believe me, I really, really wish you would have stayed there, and I know thousands of people in New Jersey feel the same way I do, to even make a correlation, I think, is irresponsible. To make a correlation is asinine. Now, again, we know that you make a lot of asinine policy prescriptions on a regular basis. So this should not surprise anybody about Alan Steinberg. We know asinine things come out of his mouth and also are printed by his name on a regular basis. So this shouldn't surprise you. But Alan, have a little awareness. I get it. You're 97 years old, 97, 98, whatever. And I get it. We're all going to get to that age, hopefully, right? Hopefully we're all going to live a life as long as yours. But have some awareness. And I get that, at your age, at 97 years old, up here, it's kind of going a little bit. I get that. I understand that. Okay? But have some awareness, bro. Like, it sounds tone deaf to me for you to even make a comparison. It just isn't. There's nothing to compare about September 11, 2001 to what happened this past weekend. There just isn't. I get it. It's personal to you. You're Jewish. It's about Israel. I get it. And there's never a moment that you waste to talk about Israel. Okay? And by the way, me saying that doesn't make me an anti-Semite, but I'm sure Ali will jump at that opportunity because anything remotely critical will make you an anti-Semite. So again, he's one of those people that, trust me, folks, you go to the car wash, you don't put the right wax on the tires, he'll blame it on anti-Semitism. He'll probably just say, oh, the employees at the car wash are probably anti-Semites. Okay? Alan's probably one of those types that when you go to the supermarket and you get the wrong change from the cashier, oh, it must be because, the cashier's an anti-Semite. It kind of reminds me of Uncle Leo in Seinfeld, right? If you remember when Jerry used to say, oh, listen, everything's anti-Semitism for Uncle Leo. That's what kind of Alan rubs me like and strikes me as when it comes to this stuff. And I get it's personal to you. You're Jewish, yada, yada, yada. I get all that. But Alan, have some awareness. The idea of even trying to make a correlation is just dumb, dude. And I get it. You say a lot of dumb things. And we're used to that already. But this is probably one of the dumbest ones to date. Do me a favor. kind of walk this back a little bit. And believe me, whatever you're going to write in your next column, trust me, I'm sure will be just as foolish as today's column that I had to read on my newsfeed and that was brought to my attention. Come on, Alan. I get it. You're up there. You're 97, 98 years old. The awareness is kind of, disintegrating. Just like the days last week when I had to renew my student loans and payments started getting deducted out of my paycheck. Yes, that's also deteriorating clearly as much as Alan Steinberg. Folks, special announcements here on the program. I want to certainly thank my guests tonight, but I also want to thank Diego Maya, the executive director and the founder of the Latino Spirit and the United States Latino Affairs Initiative. This past weekend, I had the opportunity to attend the grand opening of their beautiful office in Paterson, New Jersey. Very accessible. Shout out to Diego and his amazing staff. Congratulations on the opening, obviously, of this office. And of course, to not just be there to support Diego, but of course, ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest moments this past weekend, of course, once again, ladies and gentlemen, yours truly, Fernando Uribe, is once again a top Latino, been a top 100 Latino for the previous 2 years, but now a top 50 Latino for 2023. And of course, folks, you can see it back there. I mean, I'm feeling claustrophobic here. Like, I don't know if I can fit in this house. So if you know any good contractors, have them call me and say, hey, Fernando, what can I do for you? I might have to extend this house. I don't fit anymore with all these awards behind me. Like, I don't fit here. It's like I'm feeling claustrophobic. It's like, can I walk from room to room without bumping into an award or a degree or a trophy or an accomplishment? Like, I just don't fit here. But in all seriousness, folks, and I'm deeply humbled once again by this honor. And I'm not the most humble guy around, as you all know. Okay. But I'm deeply humbled by the nomination, by the panel of judges selecting me this year, as they have in previous years. I can't thank you enough for your belief in not just my abilities in academia, in philanthropy, in my award-winning brand of journalism. Without all of you folks, again, those watching at home, those that comment, those that share my journalism, those that attend my philanthropy, those that have, again, recognized my achievements in academia, again, without all of you, what sits behind me, that wouldn't be possible. So on behalf of myself, from the core of my soul, thank you for believing in me, and thank you to the Latino Spirit and certainly the United States Latino Affairs Initiative for believing in Fernando Uribe once again. And speaking of philanthropy, folks, again, I'm rocking that pink here during the month of October because it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And of course, here on the show, and of course, with Jersey First TV, we'll be rocking pink all month long to support the American Cancer Society during Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and of course, for the Making Strides Against Breast Cancer campaign. Speaking of which, mark on your calendars, ladies and gentlemen, for Thursday night, October the 26th, at the world-famous Lolitas, located along River Road in North Bergen, New Jersey, I'll bring you the 2023 edition of A Professor's Quest to Save Breast to Benefit Making Strides Against Breast Cancer. And joining me that evening will be my outstanding co-host, the beautiful Christina Kostovsky, the gorgeous Sandra Ramirez, of course, the hardest working guy I know, Vladimir Carrero, and yours truly, ladies and gentlemen, along with talent ambassador and award-winning makeup artist Courtney Gilroy. The five of us, okay, are going to welcome you upon arrival. We're going to be greeting you. Obviously, a $20 suggested donation at the door is greatly appreciated. We'll have happy hour specials all night long, courtesy of Lolitas. Obviously, you can book and reserve for dinner. You'll have happy hour specials, margaritas, appetizers, and much more, folks. And we'll have plenty of gifts being raffled off, which we're very excited about. Once again, mark it on your calendars, ladies and gentlemen, for Thursday night, October the 26th, starting at 7 p.m. We'll be partying well into the evening, folks. Mark it on your calendars, bring some friends, and together we can defeat breast cancer once and for all. All proceeds that evening will benefit the American Cancer Society and Making Strides Against Breast Cancer. You'll be proud to know, folks, since 2008, A Professor's Quest to Save Breasts has raised almost $60,000 for breast cancer research, awareness, and ultimately to help the American Cancer Society. So I look forward to seeing you on Thursday night, October the 26th, starting at 7 p.m. A lot of great sponsors, way too many to name. I'll name them that evening. Definitely check it out. Go on your social media. Just Google A Professor's Quest to Save Breast 2023. You'll see all the information there. Again, on behalf of my amazing co-hosts, once again, Courtney Gilroy, Christina Kostovsky, Sandra Ramirez, and Vladimir Carrero, we look forward to seeing you on Thursday night, October the 26th, on behalf of the American Cancer Society. Folks, before I call it a night, oh, that's right. I think I need to thank some people here on Jersey First TV. And of course, more importantly, to thank all of you because, folks, recently for the month of September, hey, we keep bringing great traffic all month long. Always remember, ladies and gentlemen, to check us out on all of our social media. Make sure you like us on Facebook, of course. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. For all you subscribers on YouTube, click the subscribe button, and you'll get all the notifications about all the outstanding content brought to you by Jersey First TV. Of course, maybe you're downloading podcasts on Spotify or SoundCloud, do so and take Jersey First TV with you anywhere you go during the month of October and the foreseeable future. I can't say enough, ladies and gentlemen, about how proud I am to be on the dream team of Garden State Media. That's right, folks. It's Jersey First TV. Brand new episodes of The Nader Narrative hosted by the outstanding Elizabeth Nader, premiere every Thursday, as well as brand new episodes of Bridging the Gap by AJ Malillo and Stephen Rombolo also premiere on Thursdays, as well as brand new episodes of Real Talk with Fernando Uribe, premiere every Monday at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. Check your local listings, obviously, for updated times and guests coming up for the rest of 2023. Folks, before I call it an evening, I just have to thank all of you once again. Amazing traffic for the month of September. Over 21,000 views, all organic, folks. I don't boost anything. I don't believe it. Folks, I'm not vaccinated, so much less am I going to believe in any boosting, okay? But thank you to everyone who tunes in every single month. 21,000 plus views, all organic. Once again, as organic as the produce section at your local Whole Foods and Trader Joe's. Folks, without all of you who tune in, who share the episodes, who opine, who comment, these numbers, okay, would not be possible, okay? This number right here behind you, 21,000 plus views, without all of you at home, it wouldn't be possible. And again, I'm not the most humble guy, but I'm deeply humbled by your support and your belief in this show and what I continue to do with my award-winning brand of journalism. Here's a spoiler alert, folks. I'm not going anywhere, okay? And I know that, when we talk about this sort of traffic, this amazing traffic, and I get it that there are some journalists in New Jersey, right, who think that they're journalists. They're really more propagandists, let's be honest, who maybe work one day a week, wake up in the morning, whenever that is, are perpetual pot smokers, right? They wake up and, of course, let's be honest, what else do they have to do? Either smoke weed or wake up and, oh, what's nearby? Oh, well, let me go caress the only pussy in the house that really can stand to be near them. Pussycats, of course, right? We all know who they are, right? Well, while people are just getting high all day and smoking weed and whatever, see, over here on this show, like, we're winning awards. We're making a difference. We're getting real traffic here on this program. Like real traffic, not like the traffic that some of these Mickey Mouse journalists or these little Mickey Mouse activists, right? Like real traffic, not the traffic you see on Kennedy Boulevard in Hudson County or Route 17 in Bergen County or the Turnpike or the Garden State Parkway or Route 1 and 9 or Route 21. Like that's the traffic because you're in a rush to get somewhere. But on this show, folks, yeah, this is real traffic. When it comes to award-winning journalism and journalism that matters and that's making a difference, yeah, folks, you can have propagandists or you can have Fernando Uribe. Real traffic on Kennedy Boulevard. We're not the same. Always remember that. I thank all of you for making these numbers possible every single week. And that's our show for this week, folks. Once again, I want to thank Belleville Mayor Michael Melham and Belleville Board of Education trustee candidate Steve Leon for an insightful interview tonight. Great conversation, folks. You have a choice on November 7th. Definitely check out Steve Leon and his ticket running in the Belleville Board of Education races. And folks, I can't say enough about how great this show continues to be. And again, it's because of all of you, and I thank you for that. Always remember, if it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, it is always real talk right here with Jersey First TV. I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, top 50 Latino as voted on by the Latino Spirit Online magazine and the United States Latino Affairs Initiative, as well as the weapon of mass disruption in Garden State media. Certainly, the traffic tells you the people's choice and the people's voice. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, you know, the most handsome face that runs the place. It is me, Fernando, Uribe, saying so long, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in here, and thanks for stopping by.